Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. As some of you may or may not be aware, I occasionally review video games. When I'm not busy reporting on Alex Maurer or calling out lackadaisical games journalists, you can also find me hip deep in the mires of the independent games community, attempting to ferret out those prized few games that are not getting attention but are most definitely deserving of it. In the doing so, we also come across a lot of crap games as well. Games with no real redeeming qualities or features, usually most notably developed by people that also have no real redeeming qualities or features as well. It's sort of like when you find a person and their pet whose faces look just a little bit too much like each other. They just match a little too closely for comfort. It's these lowest common denominator games and their matching developers that birthed the Dirty Devs series on my channel, and if you've watched any of those recent videos, then you're already well acquainted with the game that is on your screen now. And no, the simple fact that it only fills 1/6 of the desktop is not a mistake on my part. The game by default is set at this resolution. The game is called Abrams Tank, and it is a direct duplication of the old 90s game Hover Tank 3D. It's actually a tooth faithful of a reproduction, and as such, still contains all the issues that comes with games of that era. Horrible graphics, empty gameplay, no meaningful options, horrendous controls, and no thought to modern PCs or even modern resolutions and aspect ratios. The game was a complete and utter failure by every definition of the word, and the developer was again no different. Going so far as to directly attack a user for leaving a negative review on the Steam storefront, this developer quickly developed into near incoherent blatherings once I decided to step in and offer my own 2 cents on the game and the developer's actions, which included bullying and harassing a Steam user, deletion of Steam discussion threads, blocking people for no reason, changing the description of the game in order to continue harassing that same Steam user, and even posting a review of his own game in order to still continue attacking that user. After I posted my original video, I posted a Steam review, as I normally do, in order to warn people away as to what sort of game they're looking at and the sort of person they're supporting by giving money to that developer. The developer in turn posted a response that was about as long as War and Peace and just about as entertaining to read. In it, he made apologies and then immediately about-faced on those apologies and doubled down on his attacks against that same Steam user yet again, casting disparaging remarks, and was generally antagonistic to anyone and everyone. And as I had posted my findings and even went so far as to produce a second video outlining this developer's deplorable actions since my initial review, since then I had moved on and this game had gone out of my mind until today. Today, when I found out that we had achieved a small measure of victory in the war against shady developers and asset flippers. Now, I was informed earlier today by Mellow Online, even though I believe it had actually happened several days ago, that the developers for Abrams Tank have been kicked to the curb, as it were, along with approximately 100 other shady developers. And I am reasonably uncertain whether this had anything to actually do with the removal, but it seems to coincide with the developer changing their name to Gaiman's Flatulent Asshole, which, if true, would be extremely telling and yet unremarkable with Valve's actions to date. Harassing and berating Steam users is seemingly acceptable under most circumstances and is mostly ignored, but insult Lord Gaben and find yourself kicking rocks. Ironically, some would say prophetically so, this news coincides with Jim Sterling posting a Jimquisition in which he had directly called for Valve to take a serious look at who it is they are doing business with. Now, my own personal opinions on this particular topic are widely discussed on a great many of my videos, and as with many others, Jim identified the exceptionally toxic and cancerous behavior of developers like these and their horrendous games being in a professional market. Games so broken and basic that college students studying game design have stated quite clearly in the past that they would be embarrassed to have created such a completely empty and deplorable product. It's doubtful even that a student would even be able to graduate if they attempted to pass such low-quality work to their professors. And as I had stated already, the personalities of these developers very much match their games. You can see and you can tell when someone has put genuine thought and effort into their creation. It's not merely an investment of time, but an investment of self. That is what separates those with real artistic talent from those that are merely looking for a quick buck. You know when you're dealing with a labor of love from a talented person versus someone who's looking for a paycheck. Because for every Terraria, or Undertale, or Stardrop, there are 100 Abrams tanks. For every Druid Gameworks, there's a dozen Dentola Studios or Digital Homicides, and quite frankly, something does need to change. This is a good step in the right direction, but it is only a single step. Much more needs to be done. And while I know that Steam literally wants all the things in existence, professional markets like Steam, GOG, Green Man Games, and others should be reserved for those that are not only capable of producing professional products, as in not lowbrow asset flips and cash grabs, but are capable of acting in a professional manner. Developers like the ones for Abrams Tank, along with the Andrew Watts and the BC Interactives of the world, have shown qualitatively that they are exceptionally incapable of functioning in a professional capacity and need to be shunted back to the minor leagues like Itch.io and others. Let them come onto the professional markets once they can prove that they are capable of producing a quality product and not act like a complete tool to boot. Abrams Tank is gone, and good riddance. One down, about 10,000 more to go. As always, let me know what you all think down in the comments below. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.